2 years ago, days after this finale came out, I made a video on why I'm not reviewing the hardest thing from this show, mainly the fact that I was in a state of depression and stress that around 2022 wasn't really the best year for me due to depression, and when it came to the lack of respect that the animation has been given, and of course, well, let's not talk about that because it's not Disney related. This is not only one of my favorite finales from any other cartoon, but one of the most important finales for anyone who's been binge watching this show from beginning all the way to the end. Believe me, if someone tells me on what show that they should watch when it comes to the next binge watching experience, I would definitely tell them to watch Amphibia. Because this episode, with it being the series finale, is a showcase of how much that there was so much passion and care when it comes to putting everything together from beginning all the way to the end. The premise of this series finale is that the core is taking over the moon that is gonna crash into the planet of Amphibia, which leads to Anne, Sasha, and Marcy to form into the calamity powers to stop the moon while facing off enemies along the way, but it wasn't enough. So Anne decides to sacrifice herself with the calamity powers, and it manages to destroy the moon itself, but at the same time, herself as well. Words cannot describe of how much I love this finale, and believe me, when this finale is slightly better than the Owl House finale, it shows that it's mainly the fact that it didn't got anything in the way. And every time I think about these moments from beginning to end, and the impact from the All-In special, believe me, it shows that The Hardest Thing is one of the best finales from any other cartoon. The core who is a sore loser who refuses to accept defeat, and the fact that I didn't mention its name in the last video, is willing to destroy all kinds of Amphibia in order to be victorious in some of the capacity. And trust me, the stakes in this really made me feel like Anne's development when it comes to her essay that her principal wants her to do or ordered her to do in order to prove what her future is going to be like, really shows that she has to at least make things right for the things that she makes. Mainly the fact that most of her friends like Sasha and Marcy are mostly obstacles in the earlier seasons, mainly seasons 1 and 2. And when it comes to this season, it comes full circle that she's willing to sacrifice herself for the sake of not only her family from home and others, which she did succeed, but also her new friends. And as far as I'm concerned, even if she never got sacrificed, there is still no other alternative to have her stay in Amphibia, along with Marcy and Sasha when it comes to their friends in the planet of Amphibia. When it's this impressive to have me feel so much sympathy involving characters that I enjoyed the most, it really shows that there was a lot of passion and effort in order to make this worthwhile, because as much as I enjoy the finale of the Owl House and it did the best that it could, if it didn't have any of the trouble, it would have reached to levels like this. Believe me. Even though that you should focus on the art itself and not everything around it, at the very least it's still important when it comes to the effort that was put into the art. Like, you can't just say that the art was made on its own. Like, you can say that accept the art, not the artist thing, but the thing is, the art wouldn't exist without the people around it. And no, it has nothing to do with the people with serious allegations, because this is mainly focusing on the people who put passion and effort when it comes to shows like this, with no allegations behind them since that they don't have any. Believe me, every time I think about this finale, I wanted to review it 2 years ago, but due to negativity around other shows that are animated, it's just difficult to be in the passion due to one show being the one that has it all. Because to tell you the truth, despite one show having everything when it comes to a finale, it's not enough to make up with everything around it. This is why I say that this finale along with All In were in bad timing for me due to everything around it. Because despite how good these two are, it doesn't change the fact that it's not enough to make me feel special or feel happy. Even though that these two actually made me special on their own, at the same time, they're not the only ones that can instantly make things better. And believe me, it has nothing to do with anything in the episodes. In fact, with the last review being a 9.75 out of 10, it has nothing to do with what I felt. It's just my perspective on the special itself. When Anne, along with her friends, turn into the Calamity powers, mainly as the Calamity Trio, it made me appreciate that they actually dissolved this moment, since that it was all building up to it. And believe me when I say this, for how rushed the Owl House was when it comes to the production and the creative differences and whatnot, it's just difficult to see Luce in her Titan form when it could have been a lot more better if it was a lot more fleshed out, with the third season being an actual third season. And with this being an actual third season, I say that this is a lot more better than Luce's transformation. Due to the Calamity Trio being fleshed out, it's everything of what a climax should have when it comes to the main characters, stopping the core from crashing into Amphibia. Believe me when I say this, is that every time that there's always similarities between Amphibia and the Owl House, well, the main characters with friends come back to the human world, and one of the characters, mainly Luce, going up into space, which is what Anne and her friends did. There's a lot of similarities to the point that even though it's questionable and difficult to see the originality on trying to make differences when it comes to the Owl House's writing, it still doesn't change the fact that this would have been a perfect candidate to have a crossover between Amphibia and the Owl House. But all we ended up getting is a voiceover off of a script of having a crossover. But ignoring the fact that the crossover should have happened, we get another comparison centering around Anne being mostly dead for the cost of her life, and being in the world, well, she meets a guardian of the cosmos, or the cosmic guardian. I'm gonna be real with you, the fact that the Owl House did something similar like this, I'm gonna be real with you. For how that these shows really wanted to be like each other when it comes to sister and sister, I'm getting the impression that the Owl House saw this and they really wanted to replicate it as their own. Similar to The Rise of Skywalker when it comes to the endgame situation, when it comes to the portals of every superhero coming together. But at the same time, Star Wars and the Avengers are highly different from each other, and it's not because I'm defending The Rise of Skywalker nor hating it. My point is that these cartoons really have passion, and when it comes to Anne making the choice on taking the Cosmic Guardian's place, in all honesty, if she would be willing to do that, I'm pretty sure that it would probably lead to a sequel centering around the show, which it never happened. I'm gonna be real with you that there is chances of potential when it comes to making a sequel out of this with the ending that it got, but as far as I'm concerned, this sequence alone really feels like that it's indicating that it's supposed to be about Anne's life, on how her future is going to be, and her future is being a tourist on giving people a tour of frogs. To tell you the truth, I'm gonna be really honest with you that with that job that she has as her closure to her story, really concluded her arc of growing up the right way. Believe me, She literally would have had nothing if she never went to Amphibia in the first place. And every time I think about this ending, it really shows that they really gave closure to a main character the right way. And as far as I'm concerned, for a series that was beloved by Disney fans and the fanbase itself, it's really difficult to mostly move forward when every other cartoon wouldn't be able to have the same respect as Amphibia. What this finale taught me right now is the fact that it didn't got anything in the way by being better than anyone else. And considering that Big City Greens is older than Amphibia, The Outhouse, and The Ghost and Molly McGee, I'm gonna be real with you that if people make the assumption that Big City Greens is the reason of these shows being cancelled, it would probably been a lot more accurate if Big City Greens had been on a different network and we were in the 2000s when it comes to networks facing each other, which isn't the case. Because as far as I'm concerned, there is no war when it comes to scenarios like that of Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, and even Nickelodeon. The emotions of the characters really captures the meaning of it earned it the way it deserves. And as far as I'm concerned, it's rare for a show like Amphibia to get what it needed when it comes to 3 seasons. And even though that it's mainly the fact that other people would think otherwise, I'm just gonna say this right now. You're wrong about Big City Greens being the reasons onto why shows like The Outhouse and The Ghost and Molly McGee came to an end. Especially since that the Big City Greens episodes haven't been airing around the time the Ghost and Molly McGee episodes were reaching to its conclusion. And with this show reaching to a huge hiatus, even more than the Ghost and Molly McGee's hiatus of between seasons 1 through 2, this hiatus happened after the season 1 was concluded in 2019, and then it came back the following year while the pandemic took over. Believe me, knowing full well that that was the biggest wait that people had to sit through, I can't imagine how they would have felt if they witnessed the waiting of these episodes like The Outhouse did. And believe me, I'm fully aware that people were really upset that True Colors were delayed 3 years ago. When I think about the 10 years sequence of having Anne and her friends grown up as adults, with Sprig's life without Anne, with everyone else around him grown up, it's a perfect conclusion. And trust me when I say this, whenever I see a conclusion involving the characters being grown up, it's mostly in a way that it works in their own favors, but when it comes to the favor of this, it's earned correctly. So much so that I can even say that it's better than the finale of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. It shows that there was a lot of effort put into everything, and whenever I think about the positives centering around this show, I will always think that it's the perfect show that got nothing in the way. Because believe me, even though that not every single show is perfect and it's not going to please everyone, for me personally, I can guarantee you that this show would still please a newcomer by watching it from the first episode all the way to this episode, including moments that come in the heart when you feel so much emotions. Mainly the moment where Sprig hugs Anne one more time before she leaves. There was a reason onto why I included this as my outro of all of my current videos, well, aside from Cartoon Crisis, that is. The point that I'm making is that this show really means a lot more when it comes to everything around it. Believe me, I had a difficult time getting into this show in the first season during the pandemic, but it soon catched up as I got into the show a lot more. Believe me, it's difficult to get into a newer show that will grow on you as time goes by, and when it comes to every other cartoon that I'm stuck binge watching, it's mainly the fact that it doesn't have the same effort as this show did, which is fine when it comes to different style, but I won't be able to have that same experience knowing full well that those shows didn't get what Amphibia got. If I'm ever going to do another month centering around a cartoon like We Bear Bears and My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, which is 3 times, it will be Amphibia for a change, but it will be a lot more awkward considering that I've already talked about All In and The Hardest Thing, which would have been a fitting way to wrap up a month. But at the same time, there's a slight chance that it won't happen. Like, there's no chance for me to do a month dedicated to Amphibia for this year, but by chance, if I'm going to do a Summerpalooza 6 next year, I might have Amphibia be the main theme of it, similar to Steven Universe Marathon that is gonna be a major theme for Summerpalooza 5 once we hit on the first day of summer. Overall, this is one of my favorite finales from any other cartoon, and even though it's a shame I haven't talked about it in 2 years, at the very least, what I said in my description of that video that I made days after this episode came out, it's accurate because I wasn't ready. All that matters is that I finally talked about these 2 episodes all in The Hardest Thing. And my statement of doing a month centering around Amphibia is still a possibility, but at the same time, only time would tell, not to mention with the other projects along the way. I'm giving this finale a 10 out of 10.